Right. Hello, good morning. Let's see. So yeah, I've been waiting for the weekend, but I have been playing around with. We tried to create this concept where you could like write a prompt and we would generate a sandbox, like a code sandbox, and it would open it like pass the data into our API, the code sandbox API, and actually generate the sandbox and show it to you. And we had to do some hard coding to make the result fit with the requirements of the template, because all these sandboxes are template based. And then we had this theory that, oh, what if we just fine tune? What will happen then? So we're going to look at that. But I had some more reflections because I've been talking about like how this LLM chat, which is how we were presented to AI or LLMs specifically. Maybe chat isn't really what we want, or of course, in some contexts, it's exactly what we want. But when we're trying to create these experiences, generating code, maybe it's not what we want. So we're gonna play around with the fine-tuning thing and see if there are some minor tweaks we can do to the create sandbox thing, but I think that project would need a lot of work to actually have any value. We'll see. But I have an idea for what to continue with, and that is to refactor the original proof of concept where we let's see, where is the thing? Here it is. The original proof of concept was like you move through these specific things, because I started with like a chat or like a single agent or assistant, whatever you want to call it, and it was conversation based, and then we split that up into like this workflow or the agents routers. You could like move from one agent to another, but I'm not sure if it makes sense. So what we're going to do is that we're completely going to remove the concept of agents and agentic workflows, and we're just going to use prompt to JSON. And what we're going to do is try to build up an experience where we explicitly just call these functions that generates things, and then we just move through it. So as an example, the UI had this chat interface. So whenever you prompt something, it would like fill in messages and create this like chat history. But we're going to completely remove that. We're just going to look at the current state of the application. So for example, on the idea flow, the first thing we want to do is create some user stories. So we're going to have an actual text area to prompt to get like the initial suggestions for user stories. But from there, that text area isn't going to contribute to a conversation. It's just one type of input to iterate on the user stories. So we'll have those user stories front face in the UI at all times, but you can change the user stories directly. You can like uncheck them. Ideally, you will be able to add one manually, but you can also use the prompt to like say what you want to do with them. And then, but then they update in place. There's no like history or chat messages or anything like that. And when that's done, you move to the next thing. And we're going to continue like that. And when we get to the actual like implementation step or the spec step is about the specific tasks we want to perform. And we're just going to look at like calling functions to produce like a task that we're actually going to execute. And when we do implement, we're not going to make the like the agent write code or anything like that. Like we're going to use these LLMs for what they're good for, and that is to generate text. If that's like JSON, like that JSON is just the output format, so we can use it in our program or our code. But we're just going to do what they're good at, which is generating text or code or whatever. And then we're going to use our implementation of the actual application to do everything else. So it's going to lean way more into like traditional coding, but using LLMs to generate text and code. That's the only thing we're going to use them for. And I think that's interesting because everyone's now leaning heavily into LLMs and agents, and maybe they're perfectly right about this. I'm not saying that's the wrong way to do it, but it's very, very complicated to make them do what you want them to do, as opposed to just swing the pendulum the other way. No, let's just create a traditional development experience, but we're going to use the power of these LLMs to generate text output. Yes. I think that's going to be interesting. But first, let me show you what I did on this little project. So I have this generate fine-tuning. Okay, so the first thing I did, I can take you through some of this code. So I got like 100 sandbox IDs from a colleague of mine, and then I went to Code Sandbox and I downloaded them. It turned out that some of them is the code. No, then I just store them in a JSON file, and then I created this JSON-L file, which the fine-tuning API uses. It's just JSON where each line is a JSON object in and of itself. And what we had to do was actually validate these sandboxes, because some of them weren't actually valid. So they need to have a public directory. I just checked directory's length. And some of them were even null, which I'm not sure why. But we had like 80 valid sandboxes at the end. And what I did is I went through these validated sandboxes, and like, it's not that it just magically works, right? We can't just shove anything in there. So I go in and I transform the, yeah. So there were a lot of quirks here. Like, some people had put like a lock file in there. For some reason, a browser sandbox doesn't need a lock file, but some people had it and was like huge, so we couldn't use it as data. And some people had like minified files in there, which are also massively huge. So I had to like only include files that are actually relevant for generating a sandbox. I should probably completely filter those sandboxes out. Anyways, yeah. And then I went through each sandbox, and then I asked GPT. This is a code sandbox delimited by triple quotes. What could be a prompt resulting in that code sandbox? And this is just the call to OpenAI. And then we just write the JSON for it. So I'm kind of producing the JSON here. So it's the JSON is like an object of messages, an array of user, and the prompt that we asked the GPT to generate, and then the actual sandbox JSON result from that. And let's just play around with it. Let's see. Let's see if I have localhost. Let's see. Yeah. So currently I'm using, let's see, app. Currently I am using this fine-tune model. Let's try without it first and just see what it generates. Oops. So I thought that I would be able to completely just remove the need for doing any programmatic stuff to make the templates work. But as we're going to see is that that's probably not going to be okay. So yeah, so what we can see here is that the actual output from the LLM is that suddenly here it's confused by external resources and npm dependencies. This is something I would expect. I'm not sure how we would solve that, because this is also a thing, right? We have this idea that this stuff is just magically going to work. But what if a library has both an external dependency or external resource version like Tailwind and React? You can use those as script tags, but they're also npm packages. How the hell does an LLM know which one to use? And then you can argue in this case it should definitely not use both of them, which I agree with, but that's, yeah, GPT 3.5. But I think it's something more fundamental there. And then I think it generates what it should. Like there's an index file and HTML file, but we actually do need a package.json file as well. So the thing we actually generate programmatically is that we still use the, yes, we have the public index HTML, but now it generated an HTML that we actually didn't want, and so on and so on. So we would have to do a lot more programmatic stuff to make this work. But with the fine-tune model, let's see what it generates now. Let's see. So with the fine-tune model, it even gave me now the actual suggestion for the index file, and it gave me the index.js file, which has all the imports and stuff. It gave me the npm dependencies. For some reason, external resources, no idea why it does this. But it gets closer, right? That's the thing. It gets closer to what I want, but I still have to programmatically go in and fix it. So we need a package.json file, for example. It doesn't include that for some reason. Not sure why. Oh yeah, this is just a bug in the code. I'm using React 18. I should use the version coming from this one, and that's also a thing. Like it's trained on old sandboxes, so it's using an old version of React, which you probably don't want. But how do you then fine tune it? Because the old data is based on an older version of React. So if you use the whole training data with a newer version of React, it starts breaking. So it's like just doing something that would seem very simple is just very, very difficult. So I don't think this will work. I don't think this is the right approach. We could probably make this work by having the user choosing a template. So if the user chose they wanted to do something with React, we could embed the current documentation of React. We could like hard code the versions, embed the related documentation. We could maybe search for sandboxes in our database which uses that version and use that for fine tuning to kind of maybe make it a tiny bit better. But it wouldn't be, yeah. It's very interesting to me how complicated the web, well, I guess like programming environments really are. They're insanely complex. So the point is, if we're going to do this, we will have to create something that had a lot of value. But it's cool to see what fine-tuning does. Like, I think the conclusion, like I've only done this once now, and I haven't tested it with what if we gave it 1,000 sandboxes. But the point is that we wanted to generate, we had some expectations on this output. It wasn't only the JSON format, which the prompting handles. It was, what do we populate that JSON with? There was some expectations around that. And doing fine-tuning helps. Like it can help you populate the correct thing in that JSON. But it seems that it needs, depending on the complexity of what you want to populate, I guess that depends on like how many examples would you need. And I try to do multi-shot prompting instead with the same data. So I took like a couple of examples, a couple of the generated JSON-L things. Well, not JSON-L, but a couple of sandboxes and gave them as examples of the output as I was like prompting it. And that like it didn't work. Like there's so many different kinds of outputs that you can have. I think it would be better to just like describe, okay, you can have an output based on create React app. And then we will actually write in the prompt, the create React app needs the following file, needs the following file, needs the following file. Yeah, so if you have like a smart enough model, you could probably prompt it to, based on your chosen template, follow these instructions, kind of thing. But still, you can do that. You can still create a good user experience. And that's the thing, like it takes so much time to get a response from GPT-4 compared to GPT 3.5. Like it's way beyond what you would think is a good enough user experience. Like if you want an experience where you should be able to prompt and it should generate a sandbox out of that, that needs to happen fast. You can't sit there for like 10 seconds waiting for that. Yeah. So I'm really curious to, I don't know what has most value now. Should we play around more with this, or should we go back to the other proof of concept and just use the I'm most motivated, I think, to go back to the proof of concept. Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't mean we can't go back to this, but I think it would have to be a quite different experience. So the thing is, like, now we created one function that was scoped to actually generate. Yeah, so this is interesting. So we created one function that was scoped to handle any template, even though we scoped it down to create React app here. It would need to handle all kinds of templates, know what files to generate for that template, balance external resources versus npm dependencies, all of that stuff. But what we could do here is that no, let's just, what's the minimal thing we need the LLM to actually do? And that is to generate the code for the example. So we could just ask it to generate code. It doesn't have to be multiple files. It just needs to be one file. That's enough for a sandbox. So that's what we would use it for. We would programmatically create the payload, and we would select the name of the file to include, which would be app.jsx based on the user selecting the React template. And then we would just generate the code. And GPT 3.5 would definitely be able to do that. Maybe we should do that first, because it would be nice to conclude on this. So we can kind of put this as an iteration, like we're expecting too much from this. And what we could do instead here is that on the fine-tuning side, instead of fine-tuning like the full response, we could fine-tune yeah, do we even need that? Nice thing is that, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Anyways, so what we can do is that we can change the output here, we could just say, we can just say code string, the code generated. Sorry, schema. By the way, I changed the API of prompt to JSON. So now I can show you in the, actually, let's go to GitHub to see it. Prompt to JSON. Yes, so what I did now is that you have something called create prompt to JSON. And what you pass in here is the schema you want to, the JSON you want it to return. And then the function that actually performs the call to your LLM with the prompt to get the response. And then you can optionally, like as part of creating this JSON prompt internally, it gives a couple of examples of return types, but it's very simple objects where you can go in here and you can override those examples. So this would be to kind of fine tune it with multi-shot prompting. I haven't really tested it, but I thought it would be nice to have. And then you actually get the function you call back. Yeah, so that's what we're doing there. And send prompt, fine. No idea why it's so angry at me. Yes, so what we're gonna do here, we're just gonna say code. And then we're gonna change our create thingy. Right, I have to make sure I'm, okay, someone needs my attention. Let's see. So we're just gonna take the code here, code string. We don't have to go through the dependencies. We're just gonna use, let me see. What's the package JSON? Doesn't it include, yeah, it includes React. Let's see. So one thing that's kind of difficult to handle here is external resources. Like what if you want to say, what if you say specifically Tailwind, for example, or some other NPM package? We won't actually include that. So maybe, yeah, we're gonna try something. Let's do it like step by step. So we're gonna keep, sorry, and we're gonna have this one, but instead of files, we're gonna have this simple thing. And we don't need entry. We don't need template. So we're just gonna have yeah, and this is kind of shitty because I can't decide on. So schema is just an object, so it will always make I want to remove. Oh, let's just keep them there. And we're gonna have npm dependency. Okay, so we're gonna keep that, but we're gonna remove files and entry, and then we're gonna include code. So that would be code string. Yeah, the one thing that's problematic is Yeah, it's the fact that we are writing React code based on an older version very often. But yeah, we're gonna prompt it to not actually include like the render part of this, which is where it's breaking. It's, yeah, it's very interesting. And the entry is just gonna be, do I have the entry? No, we could just say entry. Let's remove this, and we're gonna just call it entry. Oh. So this is that thing. And then we're gonna say source index.js is entry. And then source app JSX is code. Data code. Oh, sorry. Is binary false. Okay, so now we scoped it down to just generating code for entry. And then we have the package JSON. Oh yeah, we don't need to handle that. Okay, so let's see now. We generate our code. We pass that in. I think this is enough. By the way, I got some new glasses, but they still have this shimmering thing. You see that on my eyes? It's kind of annoying. Yeah. So I'll try to go dark mode as much as possible. Oh, interesting. Yeah, we need to change the. Yeah, but just the fact that it adds React as external resources, it isn't wrong. But I wanted to like use either or. Either or either. But where's the actual prompt? Create prompt to JSON. Yes, that's that one. Okay. Yeah. So please generate code. Please generate React code that. Please generate React code. And then it's this thing about external resources and npm dependencies. I'm not sure how. Like in some sense, you want external dependencies if there really are. But I'm. And populating. When choosing dependencies, prefer using. That's the thing. Like with React, we prefer using an npm dependency, but with Tailwind, we prefer using external resource. Yeah, but you know what we could do? Yeah, did you get my email? Oh yeah, you're wondering like best day this week. Any day really, except Friday. Yeah, I wonder why. I think a lot of people can speak English better than they do if they just try to um, like mimic the sound in their head, kind of thing. Because people know, like most people, at least from my generation and down, I guess, I've seen so much TV and knows how proper American and English sounds like. It's just that I think there's this. It's why you don't do theater, or most people don't do theater. It's like it becomes when you try to mimic something, it becomes like acting, and it's very very uncomfortable. It's more comfortable talking in one's, as you say, non accent, or no, sorry, like it's more comfortable just, I don't know how to put it. It's uncomfortable to try to imitate a language as opposed to having like your one's little bit broken version of it. Yeah. Um where were we? I would like a React example. Please generate prefer. Yeah, it was a freaking resources. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just simplify this by not saying external resources, but just saying external CSS resources. It's, yeah. Okay, and then we need to change. Yeah, we're just gonna do, oh, this thing. Um, yeah, okay, so this is better. So now we kind of have, so what if I said, I would like a React example with a count. I would like a React example showing a to-do list using Tailwind. Yeah, but it does include Tailwind as a dependency. It makes sense. One thing that doesn't quite work here, I think, is that, oh, yeah, it has a default export. And that's also important here, where the default export is a component. Oh, prefer. Yeah. Anyways, so my point is, to actually make this work, I don't think it's viable to try to like make it a huge ass project of like training a model and fine tuning on thousands of examples and make it generate the exact output you want for a sandbox. It doesn't make any sense in my mind. There's too many pitfalls, and it requires so much work to make it good that it seems better to just do the, like, what do you need the LLM for? You need it to generate code. You just needed to generate that single file code in this context. So just make it do that, and then programmatically make everything else happen. Yeah. Where's this create thing? There we go. Let's try to kind of do it and see the result of this. Like, is it better? Oh, internal server error. Was that the payload or? Oh, sorry, entry. Oops. Oh, source index.js. That's the entry. I think everything else was fine. Yeah, I'm just gonna try again. And this is faster as well, right? Because it doesn't need to produce that much content. Yeah, French and Spanish. Yeah, I have a Portuguese colleague. Is awesome, but yeah, his own language is like making it's kind of leaking more into the English. That's for sure. But it's what's it called? It's charming. But anyways, now it did it. It created that example. So let's create one. Yeah, I'm gonna make a video for the team on this. But let's do the create to do. Give me a to do application with Tailwind CSS. I'm just gonna see. And it's super fast. That's kind of cool. Or it's important at least. Oh. Add your to do. Yeah. This is very typical. This is a quirkiness of GPT 3.5. You have to be more specific. It doesn't. Where the hell? Please generate. I wonder if like is the problem my prompt as a user or like the prompt additional prompting. Generate complete React code. Yeah, let's give me a to do app with Tailwind CSS. Generate. Yeah, look at that. Oh. Well, generate a fully working React code example where the default export. Okay, let's try again. It's funny how we need to to do app with Tailwind CSS. Huh, it doesn't actually make it functional. That's interesting. Fully functional React code example. Yeah, it might be because I kind of say it's like with Tailwind CSS, so it's kind of well, it is very is it insanely ambiguous what I'm doing here. So I'm also testing the boundaries of how ambiguous I can be. I wonder what would happen if we did the fine tuning here though. Well, yeah, the fine tuning is really actually wrong now because we have different output. I want to try once more. for some reason it... Oh, but then again... Wait, did we actually pass the external resources? Why isn't the external resource there? Oh. Wait a minute. How do we do external resources? I didn't know. I thought that was... Wait a minute. Isn't external resources... Oh my god. Sandbox. Oh, Sam. Oh. Okay. Interesting. I thought we included those. Okay, but that's just about changing the index.html file, so that's not a biggie. Why do we have those fields? Yeah, anyways, not a biggie. We would have to programmatically do... Okay, let's do it. Where's the create thingy? So we wouldn't have to make this external data, external resources. External resources, which is a string array. And I know it's only going to be CSS now, so let's just... we're going to map those in a... what are they called? Link href. I think is it type? No, rel style sheet. Is that the thing? I can't remember. Res joined by... Okay. To do with Tailwind CSS. I think I did it right. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, it's not functional for some reason. Again, it's not wrong, but I could probably prompt it to be better at including the actual, like the actual where is the code? Functional, yeah. Create, maybe it's because I'm saying join the fully functional React component which is exported by default, which is a default export. I think that's a better term for it. Anyways, to do app with Tailwind CSS. Add your to-do list input functionality. Fully functional React component without comments, but suggested implementation, which the component should be a default export. To do with Tailwind CSS. Anyway, we're not going to play that much around with this. I kind of have enough now to create a little video for my colleagues later. This is too fast. Like, if it's too fast, it means it's... I find this interesting. A fully implemented React component implement React component implement a React component for me. How would you implement? I'm kind of, yeah, it's interesting. How would you implement this React component? The component should be, that's interesting, to do with Tailwind CSS. Oh, too fast. Your to-do app implement. Why is it doing this? Implement the React component for me. Tailwind CSS. This is very interesting stuff. Oh, look at how many. Yeah, again, you aren't like wrong, but there's no functionality. It's almost like implement all aspects of the React component for me. User interface, design, state management, etc. Styling, state management, etc. Yeah, it's super lazy. It does a minimal. Well, it's based on humans to do the same. To do with Tailwind CSS. But I can be more specific. Maybe I'm just too ambiguous. But I think it can be prompt engineered to be a bit more. Hey, look at that. Now it did it. Okay. Anyways, we're happy with this. I wonder if I can ask it to cat GIF generator. Yeah, no, it's like it's very weird. Like if I were to do like I know it can do it, it's just not incentivized enough, I think. At least it can try to do it. I'm gonna try GPT-4. I think doesn't it have turbo? Oh, GPT-4 turbo. Cat GIF generator. It's just too expensive. It takes too long, and it's too expensive. You see, it's already taking too long. It's taking way too long. But it did do it. Yeah. That's funny. So this is it, right? If we could just, I know GPT 3.5 should be able to do something similar. If we can just mm, implement all the code in necessary for this example, for this with the following code sandbox suggestion delimited by triple quotes. Let's make it a bit more instructional, see if it helps. Implement all the code necessary for this suggestion to run. Implement it in a single React component. With necessary user interface, styling, state management, etc. The component should be at the full. Okay, let's just add some more fluff in here. See what happens. Cat GIF generator. Oh, typo. Yeah, like it. It's interesting. I wonder if we could explore something here. Like we have a good example of where it just isn't like good enough on its initial prompt. With user styling, state management, effect calls. But this is the problem. Like if we start creating this like self-reflection, not like self-reflection in terms of prompt engineering, but self-reflection in terms of like, let's use another LLM to verify the result. Like then it takes too long again, way too long. Cat GIF generator. Well, it did it. But I have to, it's interesting because I was just more specific about. Can I click it? No. I was just more specific about what it should implement, right? As soon as I mention like what it should implement, it seems to do it. So it's almost like it's like leaning back and doing the least amount of things unless I specify. But in terms of a component, that's manageable. Like what does a component do? Like state management, effect calls. Yeah. What if I say cat GIF generator where I can click a button to change out the cat? Yeah, interesting. Cat. Oh, logic to change the cat. Yeah, so that's not effects, right? With internet state management effect logic functionality, user interface styling, state management logic. Like I should just list all kinds of stuff here. A cat GIF generator where I can click a button to change out the current cat. What's interesting is that instead of having a generate button, we could choose like you click React, you click Vue, you click Svelte. Oh, hey, look at that. Okay, this is very interesting. I think I learned something here. Like GPT 3.5 is very capable, but you just have, yeah, I get, but I think that's the trend. Like we feel like these new models are smarter, but it's because it's able to resolve ambiguity in a more expected way. While the older models, they're like safe in the sense that, oh, you know what? I think maybe it's, yeah, wait a minute. I think I know what it is. It's this. So I'm going to drop this. I'm going to allow it to be creative to some extent. We can keep this. But I think that's it. Yeah. You know what? Implement all content for this suggestion to run. I'm going to try to remove it and just see what happens. I want a cat GIF generator where I can click a button to change the current cat. Generate. Oh, interesting. Oh, that was certainly not it. Okay. Okay, but then we learned that. So temperature, well, I'm making very strong assumptions based on very, very little data. But it's all I have. And I like making assumptions. Okay. So that's interesting. I thought it was because I had like the temperature is basically how much room do you have to, how many words can you choose from? Like it predicts the next word. How many words can you choose from, basically? Not how many, but what's the, how, like how good of a prediction does it have to be to generate that next word? So it always has this option of different words, but then there's a threshold of good of a prediction, as I understand it, that the temperature affects. So it basically how, no, wait, that's not temperature. Is that the top P thing? Because the temperature, I think, is more, it's not necessarily like a threshold, but it's more, it will actually choose not necessarily the like best prediction. It's not, yeah. Like how big of a chance is it that it chooses a less good prediction? Which is kind of what creativity is about. It's unpredictable, I think. Anyways, we are happy with this. I'm gonna go and this is bothering the hell out of me. Oh, it gets worse when I don't have. So I have this light, and I can make this light much stronger. Let's see how they did it. I can make it super, super strong. You see that? Now there's no like weird stuff going on in my eyes. Oh, except there. But that's fine. But it's like now it's super strong and it just heats up my head. Or maybe this is how you actually do that. Remove reflections. You just turn up the. Okay, we can try it. But if my head gets hot, I'm turning it off. But that was pretty cool. That was a fun exercise. That definitely. Let's see. We're gonna keep that. I'm gonna make time for a video later, and But in the meantime, we can go in and let's see. We're gonna move over to this other project. I guess this is it. Oh, this is a bit more heavy. So last time we played around with this was the concept of the tasks. Ouch. So we need to clean things up a little bit. You know what we're gonna do? Does the Mac have like a timer clock? Does this have like a timer? Timer, nice. Let's see. We're gonna put a timer here because I want coffee, but every time I turn it on, I forget about it. So I want hot coffee. Let's say in 30 minutes. Oh, 30 minutes. I'm just gonna go down and turn on the coffee thingy, and then I'll be right back. Let's see. I found chocolate. Okay. We've been through a lot of different iterations there. Where we're now just gonna use we're just gonna use this JSON prompt thing. Is yarn here, right? JSON prompt to JSON. We're just gonna use that, and we're gonna flip the coin. We're gonna do it programmatically first, and we're only gonna use the LLM to generate text whenever we need it. That being code or user stories or documentation or whatever. It doesn't matter. We're just gonna create a function for it. So if we take a look at we're not gonna use agent flows at all. We're not gonna use assistant at all. We're gonna make it super, super simple. And then we're gonna see how far we get with that. But first, we need to import create JSON prompt and schema from prompt. Come on, prompt to JSON. Oh, duplicate. Where's that duplicate? Okay, I'm just reviewing here. Agents env. Let's see. So we're not gonna have these flows. We're not gonna have the planner. Planner. Yeah, we're gonna approach that fresh. Oh, that's the duplicate thing. What are you complaining about now? Oh. Create promptages. Oh my god. So we're not gonna have any flows. And this thing, like we're rather gonna say, because we have add message, right? Yeah, which supports a lot of stuff, but that's fine. We're just gonna make those empty. Okay, so let's do a private async. Send prompt or something, content string, and then we're not gonna give it anything here. We're just gonna use the same thing. Blah. This add message content functions is empty. Model is GPT 3.5 turbo. Context message, I don't think I need to assign that, do I? Okay, let's make that empty as well. JSON is false. We don't actually need this. Temperature, it's gonna be... Okay, so let's pass in temperature. Temperature. It's a number. And then what are you complaining about now? Oh, 3 arguments. What's the callback? Oh, on tool calls. Yeah, so we're just gonna make that empty for now because it will never call any tools. What does it expect? Promise of an array. Like that. So this is just for us to... And then I think we have message, and then we can just return that message. So this is just for us to be able to send the prompt in a very simple way. And yes, now let's take a look at the workspace state. So these flows doesn't have any messages anymore. Planning flow. There is no more. Yeah. No more chat message. No more blah blah blah. Nothing. No messages. But we're gonna keep the state of these different things. I think. Oh yeah, so we still need flow in that sense. Let's see, because we have, yeah, sorry, so we have the flow state, which is what we need. We don't need anything else. We're gonna drop that one. So this is just where it creates the initial state of the app. And okay, so we're gonna completely change this. Let's just remove everything. So this is where we like get a message, send the system message. This is where we like pass from the text area. And here we're just gonna check the current current state of the app, and we're gonna yeah, send whatever. What I wonder now is in the user stories flow. Oh, we have idle. Okay. So we're gonna just test first. So if this state current flow equals user stories or not equals user stories, we're gonna return, and then we're gonna check, or we're gonna get current flow is this state, flows this state, current flow. And the reason it's structured like this is because we need to be able to access all flows in our view, regardless of what is the current flow. So that's why we separate them. So what we can do is if current flow type equals user stories and current flow dot state, doesn't it have a status? Oh, sorry, user stories status equals idle. So if this is idle, we're gonna send initial prompt. So in the UI, this would be what kind of application do you, what do you want to do, right? So that's the initial thing. So we're gonna send that prompt to suggest some initial user stories. And then if the user continues to send stuff in, else if current flow, I would structure this differently, but we're just testing it. Return, else if current flow user stories status equals pending. So if it's pending, it means that we do have user stories, but now send prompt to update user stories. But as I said, we don't have a conversation here. We're just gonna send in our current user stories and ask it to update them based on our prompt. So we'll keep the same like checklist of user stories. Okay, so that's what we're gonna play with first. And then what's all of this stuff? We're gonna remove all of this stuff. I'm gonna on event start planning. We're gonna change that. And there's no message. Yeah, we don't need this. So we're also going to take a look at like how much we actually clean up doing this, because I think we're going to clean up a shit ton of stuff. Wow, this is, whoa. Okay, handle, whoa. Is it still in that method? Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Cool. So now this file is happy. I think I should just remove this, see what happens. Yeah, we don't need that. Yeah, then we can remove all this stuff. Agent functions, we can still have that. Okay, nice. So now we have to go and fix our UI. So we have the user stories flow, but we are not gonna user stories sidebar. Yeah, so what we can do here is, what do we call it? Checklist. Okay, so let's just do user stories. And then we're gonna say checklist. So items here would be state.tasks. What the hell is this? Oh, look at this. Planner. User stories? Okay, I must have done something wrong here. Planning store. What did I do here? User stories flow. Okay, where? Props. Initial flow state. And then we're going to steal some code from here because this is how it should be. I'm not sure why. User stories. That updates the flow. And now it's state dot. Yeah. So what we can do here is idle. We'll just do empty, or we'll use the state user stories data. And I guess we need, on approve, on, then disabled. I guess it's if the status is approved. Yeah, whatever. I think that's enough for that one. I guess we'll get some errors trying to run it. What are you complaining about? Oh, of course. Could I shove this somewhere else? You know, I'm gonna delete it because I have this in my Git history. So we're just gonna brutally clean it up. I'm gonna keep assistant because I don't think it breaks anything. Planner, planning flow, fine. How do you feel about things now? Oh yeah. Planner. Yeah, this planner update, I'm not sure why we even have that. Electron event. Oh. Wait a minute. Oh my god, what did I do? Where are you? API messages. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's just do never here for now. And look at that. Okay, so in IDEA now, yeah, so this looks a little bit weird. But what we can do now is that we can go back to our long running. So the point is like this UI is now, okay, so we're going back to almost scratch where like we figured out a lot of stuff. We started with like a single LLM that was with tons of function calls and yada yada, and expected it to just figure out everything. That didn't work, at least not with GPT 3.5. That might work in some distant future, maybe not that distant. But then we started thinking about having multiple LLMs, not multiple LLMs, but multiple abstractions called agents that had very specific purposes. They were part of a flow, and all of those iterations made us like think about, okay, what if we had these specific workflows so that these agents could be as targeted as possible. And we did that, but it's very, very complicated. It's very difficult to understand where does things fail. And it's it's such a cool concept, but maybe it's not the right tool for the job. Maybe. Like it can be a tool that's right for some jobs, but maybe not this job. I'm just gonna do a couple of small adjustments here. I get hung up on small details. That's just how. Oh, if it's approved. Well, if it's not pending. Yeah. Anyways, well, did I remove the thing? Yeah, so we haven't actually created the prompt yet. So what we're gonna do now is on send assistant message. So if we're just gonna create a function now, so that the only thing we want to do now, we just want to create some freaking user stories that the user can interact with and improve. Suggest user stories, and then we'll give it the message. So let's implement this. So we're gonna put this as like that's the constructor. Oh, there's so much stuff here. Let's just remove a bunch of stuff. Okay, so suggest user stories, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna say create prompt to JSON. Do we have it here? Create. Didn't I import it? No. Create prompt to JSON from prompt. Ah, funny. Yeah, let's import schema as well. And where were we? Here we go. Oh, suggest user stories. Oh, was it down? There we go. Create prompt to JSON. And what we can do is say that our schema is something, and then send prompt is actually just going to be this send prompt bind to this, and then we don't have to do anything about that. But what we want to do is we want to say user stories, which is a schema array of schema string, user story, and we can elaborate on like the format of these and everything. A list of user stories, but that's different. We're not like yeah, we're not like and that's also learning. It's like in the schema you can have these descriptions, but they don't seem to be valuable for the actual prompt. So you want to do your like prompt engineering in the actual prompt and not in the schema. It seems to me. So in this case, if I want in a certain format, that should be part of the prompt, not the schema, for example. It just seems to have made sense. So if we want to do, like, I think even this would actually generate something. So we can try that just for fun. And then we can like Whoa. No. I am so fucking sick and tired of creating libraries that should operate in CommonJS, ESM, Node, and the browser. I'm so sick and tired of it. I don't know how to do it. I've tried so many times. No exports main defined in. I'm so sick and tired. Oops. Using which version of Node do I have? 20. Like, main. What the hell does this even mean? No exports main. Oh, we're gonna get stuck on this. I just know it. I always get stuck on this shit. So we have a dist ESM. What's your problem? No exports main define. Is that like another? Oh my god. What does this mean? Does it mean that it tries to import the ESM version? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna try something. And we're gonna keep the types, but I'm gonna remove this. Because what I've done now is that I've put like the module. Maybe I should have main. Like, how do I? How do you build a library for CommonJS and ESM? I guess it's because, but it isn't CommonJS. So this is using ESM. I have no idea how people create this stuff and make it work. So this is what I have, and of course, that's something else. I can't believe this. I just can't believe this. Create prompt to JSON. Create prompt to JSON. Why are you complaining? package path not exported. It's so broken. Like, it's just so broken. Everything is broken. JavaScript is broken. So how do... So here we have main. Oh, so main points to CGS and module points to ES5. Oh my god, it's it's the timer. Okay, I'm gonna try that. So this should be, yeah, main should be CGS index. Maybe that's the only problem. No. And what's this import? Does this person have exports? No, it just has typings. Okay, I'm gonna try to remove exports. What was it? Typings instead of... Look at that. Okay. I'm just gonna move. Where was the library? I think I have it down here. Prompt to JSON. Package JSON. Okay, let's try to create a new version. Fix package JSON. Push, and then npm publish. Let's see. Where's auth, npm. Okay, I think we're fine. Let's try just running it now, see what happens. Oh, but we're not, sorry. Wait a minute. Where's the, oh, that's the other one. Workspace. User stories. Let's move this down a bit. So, is this async? Yeah. Wait, and this will be user stories, right? And then we say this state equals this state flows, this state flows user stories, this state uses flows, and then user stories. This is horrible. Status would be pending, and then data would be user stories. Now they should pop up in the UI. Okay, let's try once more. And then I'm gonna grab my coffee before I forget. Did we get anything? Console response user stories. Maybe we didn't get anything. I didn't add anything to the prompt here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get anything. Oh. Oh. So we have user stories there. Why didn't the UI show anything? Send workspace state. Okay, then there's something wrong here. Flow type. State. User stories flow. Hello. Aren't we getting anything? Hello. Okay, if I refresh, we get it. So, cool. What the hell? Let's try again. I want to see why it's not updating. We kind of need that first. I know that coffee is not gonna happen. Oh. Okay, user story is pending and we have data. Wait. Why doesn't the UI update when the... What the hell? Oh, wait a minute. I think I know why. Yeah, of course. We need to key this thing. So, like we want to remount this component whenever we... We need to remount the component because it has internal state, which is based on its initial state. Because there was a conversation, so we didn't like update the existing checklist. I'm just gonna do a very quick hack here. We're gonna stringify the items. It's super hacky. I could like use the status as well, but the point is that you can update it during pending. Yeah, this kind of sucks. I think I would move the state of the actual... I would remove the state from the component and put it into... And you know what? We're going to change this. So it should always be the same items, right? Except when we actually create a new set of items. So what we can do here is we can just do the same thing. So we'll just... Oh my god. Oh, this is horrible. This is just freaking horrible. So we're gonna actually check the items coming in here, and we're gonna set checked item. And then if current equals items, then we just... Well, that's not the same. Okay. So we're just gonna do... We're gonna start with an empty array. This is horrible. I hate this fucking React. I'm not sure if React is even to blame here. I just like to say it. And now we have a type issue. array checked boolean text string has changed boolean. Okay, so we're just gonna use an effect. So whenever the incoming items change, we're gonna update the array, which I think is fine. But cool. I want to be able to write a description of a task, as you said, and now we can change them, right? We can check them, change them, and then finally approve them. And the point is that to kind of get to where we were going is that now we have like very specific user stories, and now we can have a process, a programmatic process to handle each user story. And then we're just going to manually build up what we need to actually get to a final implementation step. And it's almost like, what if we start here? Like, yeah, that's also a question. Like, this is a complicated thing to implement. Like, this is not like adjust the color of this thing. This is like implement state management, and the UI is complex, or at least it can be represented in many different ways. So but what I like about this is that when you have this restriction, you don't throw things at an LLM and see what it comes up with. You really have to think about, how do you create a good user experience, and what is the operation that's required to like produce an output here? The specific operation. It's not like something the LLM just does. Yeah, I'm trying to, we can just continue with our previous approach where we now like define the behaviors of these user stories. But maybe there's, what I was thinking is like, okay, what if we take the first user story? Well, first of all, you approve them, but what if we took the first user story and then and try to, like, I don't think that makes sense. Like, you wouldn't do like a horizontal, like per user story. It's like, oh, I have this one user story, let's implement that and test it, and then you take the next user story and implement that and test it. Like, they can be highly dependent on each other. And this is my biggest worry. It's like, depending, like the user can ask for anything, and how do you separate it up into chunks that can be performed one by one? Anyways, let's think on that, and we're just going to implement the other one here as well. Let me close all of these. Where's the workspace? Workspace. Yeah, so here we're going to do basically the same thing, but we're going to include the existing user stories. So we're going to say, with the following user stories delimited by triple quotes. And we're just gonna JSON stringify them, current flow, user stories, data. I think that's enough for it to understand. and then we insert the actual message. So what should happen here now is that I should be able to ask it to change something. And it should just update the user stories in place. I also noticed the first time that it put like the whole user story into like a single check, but that's something like we haven't done any prompt engineering on this. I also want to be able to toggle tasks completed. Yeah, right? That's cool. That's really cool. And notice that it did keep the existing list, right? That's important. And that's also funny. That's also learning. I was trying to do that using a thread context, so that you would you would just ask it something, it would suggest something, and then we just kept the thread going, and I would ask it to change something, and I would completely get rid of all the other things. So it didn't understand that it should like return the full set of user stories, which is really interesting. Yeah. But you know, I think I'm going to stop here to give myself some additional time for the video for my colleagues. And what we're going to do tomorrow is that I'm going to reflect a little bit on if we're just going to do what we did last time, which is kind of approve these and then move into like behaviors, or if we're going to actually act on each of these user stories. Because that's what I like now as well. Like previously, I was kind of keeping these user stories as very simple structures in the application state, because I needed them to be simple structures for the LLM. But now we don't need that, because now we're just using the LLM as a function. So now we don't have to say user stories here, and we don't have to have like the state to be behaviors, user stories, blah, blah, blah. We can just have these items that includes a user story and the behavior and the thing and that thing. And then we can just build up this very complex object locally using LLMs to populate each of them. I think that's interesting. And the point is to like make these things very detailed, like no ambiguity. I think it's still interesting to produce like a proof of concept using a sandbox, so that you can actually interact with something before you implement. Yeah, we're gonna do that. But cool. I'm super excited to continue this journey from this perspective, because I really wonder how far we can get. As I said, we've just added a new type of function in our code base, a function that's kind of magical. Magical but predictable. And now we are free to use our like status quo perspective on how to build an application experience and a user experience. But we can do something way more complicated than what we're used to, which is actually like get suggestions for user stories. We can get help with like reducing ambiguity with the behaviors of those user stories, and we can generate sandboxes for the user to validate that, oh yeah, this is the UI I want. We can ask an LLM to generate some code based on whatever we pass it. But we don't think about it as, okay, the user wants this one thing, this magical, almost black box behavior of a bunch of like agents talking to each other. Somehow magically results in exactly what the user had in their mind. Yeah. Cool. That's the idea. I think my coffee is still warm. I'm gonna grab it and then we'll talk later or tomorrow. Bye for now.